Hey guys, welcome into Faith in Football. My name is Neil. I will be your host, and we have had a crazy weekend of football. But first, before we get to all the news, notes, all the injuries, the positive COVID test, and something I want to touch on that happened over the weekend, something tragic, and I feel a need to address it here because it happens way too much in professional sports. But first, before we get into all of that, let's, as always, put our faith first. So today's verse is coming from John chapter 21, verse 7. And I want to paint you a little picture. I want to give you a little context to this. Is Jesus has died. He's on the cross. He's been on the cross. He died. He got buried. He was raised again on the third day. But Peter, who Jesus loved and who said he told him he was going to build his church on him, he called him his rock. Now, if Jesus is calling you his rock, you would think that would have just overwhelming confidence in your ability and in your direction in your life, and that everything would be fine. But here's the thing, is that before Jesus died, when he was being taken before the authorities, Peter denied him 3 times. And that in that instance, he remembered that Jesus told him that he would do that. After he heard that, he told him, no, there's no way. Everyone else can turn away from you. I'll be here. I'm your man. I'm your rock. I'm going to have this. I got your back. Then he denied him. My point to all of this is that there are times in our life, in our walk with God, that things don't go the way that we thought they would. They don't go how we planned them. Now, if anyone knows anything, it's that our plans kind of suck sometimes because we can't see the future. We don't know what's coming down the pike. We don't know about that devastating loss that we're going to suffer, that's going to send us into a spiral, that's going to make us step back and just put on the brakes and go, I've had enough, I'm done. But God does. And every single thing that's happened to you to get you where you're at right now, God already knew about it. He already knew what you were going to go through. And I know sometimes, we ask ourselves, well, if God knows what we're going to go through, why does he let us go through it? It's because, and I just heard this recently put like this: God's not a remote control God. He doesn't, program us. We have free will. We're going to do what we want to do. He wants us to come to him of our own free will. So when we get off path, he wants us to refocus and recenter ourselves on him. He doesn't want the impersonal worship. He wants a very personal relationship with you, with us. So here's the thing. There's times when, things happen in our life, in our walk, and we go back to what's comfortable. We go back to what we knew when we were happy. Sometimes for us, that's a time before we got saved, when we thought we didn't know any better, when we didn't have any recollection or any hint that anything was wrong in what we were doing. But we got saved, we look back at our life and we go, man, I really messed up. That was some messed up stuff I did. I'm not going back there. But then things happen and we start to slide back to the old us. We start doing things that we used to do before. We start hanging out with people that we used to hang out with before instead of going forward. See, we're halfway through the fantasy football season and some of us are growing. Some of us, we're having a good season. We're learning more about playing fantasy football. We're learning how things work and how to make moves and things like that. And then there's some of us who are just hanging on. We're barely surviving. And that happens with us in our walk with God, is that there are times when everything's great and you're learning and you're growing and it's all good. And then there's those times when you feel like you're just hanging on by the skin of your teeth, and if one more thing goes bad, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm at a loss. And see, it's times like that where we need to refocus ourselves and not fall back. And I want to read something to you. And this is, like I said, this is John chapter 21, verse 7. It says, then the disciple Jesus loved said to Peter, it's the Lord. When Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his tunic, for he had stripped for work, jumped into the water and headed for shore. Now it says in the next verse that the boat, that shore was about 100 yards. Now imagine swimming the length of a football field because you heard that was Jesus. Now I know a lot of us are like, yeah, no problem. I'd swim 3 football fields if I was getting to the Lord. But I want you to realize something, is that Peter was a fisherman before Jesus found him, or before he became a disciple. That's what he was doing before Jesus. Before he became a follower, before he became a disciple, he was a fisherman. Peter went back to what he knew, what was comfortable, what was familiar, instead of pushing forward, instead of going on and doing what he should have been doing in the first place, which was preaching the good news of the gospel. Now, how many of us are like Peter? How many of us have had things happen to us and we go back to the comfortability of a familiar setting? I know I have. Things have happened to me and I'm like, man, I'm good where I'm at. I don't want anything more. I'm comfortable where I'm at. I've accepted, and you've heard people say this before, I've accepted my lot in life. Here's the problem. God didn't accept that lot. That's not what God had planned for you. And if you are truly a child of God, then you're going to have things keep happening to you until you get on the path that God wants you to be on. God's not going to let you stay still. He's going to let you stay still for a little bit. He's going to let you learn a lesson, but then he's going to kind of keep pushing you. He's going to keep nudging you. Remember, God is a still small voice. You got to be quiet. You got to concentrate on God's voice. It's not going to just boom out. It's not that booming Hollywood voice from the sky, James Earl Jones, or Morgan Freeman voice booming out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden you listen. You got to hear. See, if you're a child of God, if you've accepted Christ as your Savior, the Holy Spirit is inside of you. If he is in here, he didn't have to yell. He's here. You can hear him. He's close. All you got to do is be quiet and listen. But too many times we want to do our own thing. We want to go our own way. So as you go through your day-to-day, I want you to remember, take a second. If you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling like you're at a spot that you've been at before and you're not happy, you're not content, take a second. Ask the Lord some questions. Might just be surprised to get a response. But here's the thing. Shouldn't you be expecting a response? A little food for thought. So guys, remember John chapter 21, verse 7. If you want to read the whole chapter, go ahead. It's a really good read, and I loved it. I love this chapter. I can identify with Peter a whole lot. So let's get into the football aspect of Faith in Football. But first, we're going to recognize our sponsors. As always, my sweetest sponsor here on the show is Keller's Bakery in Youngsville. They are at 627 Lafayette Street off the Youngsville Highway. Remember, you mentioned Faith in Football sent you. Get your 2 free mini cupcakes with your purchase. you're going down there anyway, you're going to buy something, tell them I sent you. Hey, get 2 free mini cupcakes. You're good to go. You get a little snack on the way home between you and me, okay? So go down there, check them out. And for those of you who remember, this is the water bet week. Yes, the Saints are playing the Falcons, and my boy Dusty, who is his family owns Keller's Bakery, and I thank them very much for their sponsorship of the show. We have a water bet that the Saints will be swept by Atlanta this year. Not feeling really good about this bet right now. I'm feeling a little better that, Winston's not going to be there, that he's out. It's going to be either Simeon or Taysom Hill. Really don't know yet. It might be a combination of the two. Y'all know how Sean Payton is. A little heads up. Michael Thomas out for the year. If you've been holding on to him, drop him, as I did, as soon as I heard the news. He's not going to be back. Don't know what's going on. Don't care right now because I got more important things to worry about on my roster. I'm going through my own little mini biocalypse this week. I'm missing a couple of players, but we'll get into that in a minute. Yeah, this is the water bet. So the loser of this bet is going to get doused with ice cold water, and it will be on my Twitter feed. So fingers crossed. I'm doing a little extra praying on this one that the Falcons pull this out so I can sweat it out for the rest of the season because they play the Falcons at the last game of the year. So wish me luck, guys, and please keep those prayers coming. Dusty, if you're watching, it's not that I'm not praying for you, bro. I'm just praying a little harder for myself. Anyway, so we're going to get into some news. A lot of stuff to get to. Probably the biggest thing that happened over the weekend, the loss of Derek. Well, I'm sorry, second biggest. And I'll go into the biggest one here. Cool. Derrick Henry out 6 to 10 weeks. Weeks, not days, weeks. If you have Derrick Henry, I hate to say drop him. If you're hurting, I understand. If you have an IR spot, and I know they're very few and far between with the way that this year has gone, but if you do have an IR spot, go ahead and please throw him on there. So you hold on to him. If by some miracle he is back in 6 weeks, you got him for the playoffs. Remember, we are in week 9. Only 18 weeks to the season and 17 weeks in the fantasy season. So 6 weeks, it's week 9. They'll put him back week 15 at the earliest. If you have been approached with a trade offer, please don't be gullible, and I'm not going to say the S word. Don't be gullible enough to accept that trade. Okay, guys? So, let's see. The other big news is that Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers has tested positive for COVID. He is not vaccinated, so that means he has to wait 10 days before he gets to come back. Guess what? That means, that's right, there's some love going on in Green Bay, and I'm not sure everyone's happy about it. But Jordan Love will get the start Sunday as they face, the Chiefs. So the Chiefs come into town. Actually, I'm not sure where it is. I say come into town, but they go up against Green Bay Packers with a Aaron Rodgers-less Packer team. However, you should have Devontae Adams back. So keep an eye on that one. Okay, guys. And I don't know what's going on with Antonio Brown. Apparently, he was spotted riding a motorcycle. How you riding a motorcycle with a boot on, I don't know. Let's see. For those of you who have kickers in your league, now I do have kicker in my other leagues, but not in my league of record. Let's see. There it is. Josh Lambo, formerly of the Jags, has been signed to the Steelers because Chris Boswell is in concussion protocol. If you didn't see the play, it was a nasty hit on a attempted fake 2-point conversion. So yeah, it was not good. It was an ugly hit. And you realize why kickers aren't considered real football players, because this guy got launched about like 10 yards. It was crazy. Yeah. For those of you who were hoping that Evan Ingram wound up with Packers, that did not happen. Remember that Robert Tonyan out for the year. So now the Chiefs did add pass rusher Melvin Ingram from the Steelers before the trade deadline. See, there we go. Okay. I'm trying to scroll back far enough so we can cover all the news here. Kadarius Toney, apparently healthy. His something to keep an eye on though is his injury. Look, if Kadarius Toney is healthy, please play him. He's supposed to have a very good game this weekend. Pretty much because he's the only guy. Him and Sterling Shepard are about it. Let's see. Now on the tight, but I tell you what, before we go any farther, let me address something real quick. Had a little bit of tragic news in the NFL over the weekend. Henry Ruggs was involved in a fatal car crash. No, if you haven't heard about it, and I don't know where you've been if you haven't, but if you haven't heard about it, no, he didn't pass away. Apparently he hit another car with a family in it, and there were deaths in the other car. Came out today that he was 2 times above the legal blood alcohol level, and he was going 156 miles an hour in his Corvette. My concern is this. One, please charge him accordingly to the crime. And yes, it's a crime. He's going 156 while drunk. I don't care who you are, what your status in life is, what your social standing is, how much money you make. There's punishment that need be doled out for this. There were deaths that happened because of this ignorant action, unnecessary deaths. These people who died in this car accident did not have to pass away at this point in time. And more importantly, the NFL, and some people don't know this, but the NFL has a concierge service basically that gives you a free ride if you're intoxicated. You just got to call them. They will give you a discreet ride home or to your hotel, wherever you're at, in every NFL city. Okay. So first of all, there's nobody that can explain this to me and make it make sense. But someone please tell me why this keeps happening to professional athletes. You make enough money, you can hire a driver. If you know you're going out drinking, you can hire a driver. So please, I know I probably don't have any professional athletes out there watching this show, but if you're out there and you're as disgusted about this as I am, please repost. I don't care if you just trim it down to this section of the show, repost this on any social media outlet, okay? Because this is disgusting and it needs to stop. Y'all are grown people. Stop. You make enough money where this doesn't have to happen. You know you're going out drinking. You know you're going to get messed up. I'm not even preaching against excessive alcohol use. I'm preaching against the ignorance of getting behind a wheel intoxicated. Okay? Doesn't need to happen. So please stop. Okay, I'll get down off my soapbox now. Actually, I scrolled up and I say I'm getting down off my soapbox, but I'm going to get back up on it for just a second for this whole Odell and his dad stuff, this fiasco that's going on. Mr. Beckham, if you're listening, and you guys can trim this part down too, this ain't high school. I don't care what your son was, he's not that anymore. Okay? Everybody loses a step. Not everybody works out where they go. This happens to professional athletes. He's a grown man. Let him handle his own stuff. He doesn't need you out there putting out that all the times that Baker Mayfield missed him. How about we put all the times that Baker Mayfield forced the ball to Odell when he was covered just to try to make him happy? How about that come out? How about that collage of clips come out? That's what I want to see. Actually, what I want to see is Odell out of the NFL. That's what I really want to see. Okay. He's overhyped. He really hasn't, he has not lived up to the expectations that he has set for himself. Okay. He's arrogant. He's a diva. And the quicker that attitude is out of professional sports, the better. I know it never will be, but at least limited, or at least made an example. Mr. Beckham, if you really want to help your son, tell him to be a man, grow up, and handle his own stuff. He wants to go out to another team, take less money, go somewhere, prove yourself. Look at Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown took less money, went to Tampa, got a ring. Come on. I mean, let's get real here. It's been laid out. It's been game plan before. Follow the game plan. Because this whole force your way out of town thing really never works out too well. So, okay, now I'm off my soapbox. But anyway, if you have Odell Beckham in your fantasy league, please drop him. Because he's not going anywhere. He's not going to be productive for you. And he's just sucking up a roster spot. So, Deshaun Watson to the Dolphins did not happen. So he's still there. Let's see. Philip Rivers has come out and said that he would listen if the Saints called. They're not picking up that phone. Philip, sorry. Marlon Mack didn't go anywhere. Evan Ingram didn't move anywhere. So not a whole lot outside of the Von Miller trade from Denver to the Rams, which if you happen to have the Rams defense, you were thrilled. If you weren't, And apparently the Broncos are just sending people away because they also traded cornerback Kerry Vincent Jr. to the Eagles for a 2022 sixth-round pick. Let's see. Logan Thomas. If you guys have been holding Logan Thomas and you've been like, please, Logan, come back. He's scheduled to return to practice after the bye. But here's the concern from everything that I've been hearing is that because Ricky Seals did so good in covering for Logan Thomas, maybe now they're going to go to 2 tight end sets. So his production might be a little limited. Make sure you guys keep an eye on that if you have been holding on to Logan Thomas and been streaming whatever tight end you can get a hold of while he's been on IR. Also, Noah Fant, speaking of tight ends, has been placed on the COVID-19 list. Keep an eye on this, and we'll see how things shake out with that as we get closer to the weekend. Also, Deshaun Jackson has been released by the Rams. No shocker there. I would like to say thank you to the Raiders for releasing Henry Ruggs after all of this. So, see, Sterling Shepard is expected to miss some time with quad strain, so all the more reason to start Kadarius Toney if you have Kadarius Toney. As I said before, all those who have Michael Thomas, sorry guys, I was one of the unfortunate ones to blow a eighth round draft pick when I could have picked up someone who's actually going to be productive or at least have some kind of trade value for me at some point in time. Unfortunately, Michael Thomas went on social media and said that he will not be playing for the remainder of the season. Let's see. Now, there was a report from Arizona that Kyler Murray was not at the open part of practice, which is open to the media. So nobody saw him there. It does not mean he didn't practice, but it does mean that no one saw him there. Now, here's the thing. DeAndre Hopkins also missed. It just came out that AJ Green had a positive COVID test. So I had this conversation with my son just before I started recording. Just because you don't see somebody on Wednesday doesn't really mean a lot because we also had reports of CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper both being either limited or not practicing. Kyler Murray not practicing. So because of that, a lot of people are going to be like, oh my gosh, what's going on? No, calm down. Hold on. Follow it out. Unless they're playing on Thursday, there's nothing to be alarmed about at the moment. Now, on Friday, yes, that means a whole lot on Friday. So keep that in mind as well. Okay, guys. Christian McCaffrey designated to return from IR. Yes. Can you tell that I have Christian McCaffrey? Anyway, yeah, I was kind of excited about that. Sorry, had to let it out. But Christian McCaffrey coming back from IR, maybe starting this week. I wouldn't count on it this week. I have another little, I might be getting Saquon Barkley back because Saquon is supposedly due back. It was reported that he did have a positive COVID test, but he did come back with a negative retest. So as long as he has one more negative and no symptoms, we're good to go. So I'm hoping to see Saquon back. He had been dealing with the ankle injury. Was not at practice. which is sad because of the COVID. But let's see. Yeah, if you have CMC and you were fortunate enough to still be holding on to Chuba Hubbard, yes, he is a play this week, but keep an eye out for when Christian does come back, which should be week 10. Got a lot of comebacks week 10. We're expecting Russell Wilson back as well. Let's see. Yeah. Went over the Jordan Love stuff. Oh, little minor news. Blake Bortles, Blake the Snake, is coming back to Green Bay. It's expected that he will be signed to the practice squad, so he'll be eligible for the 53-man roster on Sunday to back up Jordan Love. Remember earlier in the year when we had the whole Rodgers gate, whatever you want to call it, the fiasco that happened with Aaron Rodgers reporting, not going to report, I'm not going to do it, I'm not coming, and then whatever, want to be traded, this, that, the other. Then he shows up. When he showed up, they let Blake go, and now they're saying because he's on COVID, they need a backup. So because he knows the system, they're bringing Blake Bortles back in. Calvin Ridley, look, if you are a Calvin Ridley owner and you haven't dropped him yet, please put him on IR. This is not a physical injury. This is mental health. Okay. Don't know what's going to happen with this. With all of the injuries that are going on right now, my advice to you, if at all possible, hold on to Calvin Ridley if you have the space to do so. If you don't, I get it. I understand. I've gone through the same thing myself. Right now, I'm working 2 different deals to try to clear up roster space so I can get Calvin Ridley on my squad and then on my IR, because in our league, in my league of record, he was just outright dropped. Don't recommend that. I do recommend that you pick him up and put him on your IR. I'm not really sure what designation he's carrying. If it's out, it kind of going to depend on how your IR is set up. And if you have the roster spot for him to suck up, then okay, great. Because he could be back. If he's not back this week, like he could be back in week 10. He could be back week 11. He could still help you out in fantasy if he comes back. Big if, I understand. But with the talent that he has, it's the last year of his contract. If he's going to be in football anymore, he's going to want to get paid. He's going to need to perform because he hasn't done so. So having stepped away from football for his mental health really doesn't do a whole lot for negotiation. But if he were to come back and just absolutely lose his mind and ball out, you're going to benefit. He'll benefit later in negotiation. Go, hey, I still got it. I want my money from somebody. Don't care if it's Lane or who it is, but I want my money. So, Dak Prescott saw a normal workload during a portion of today's practice, open to reporters. This is from 3 hours ago. A much different tone surrounds his ability this Sunday compared to last. Barring a setback, Dak Prescott is poised to play versus the Broncos, who will not have Von Miller. Yay. Bad enough that they were able to win without him. Now they get him back, and it's going to be even worse. Not happy. Yes, I'm bitter. I'm allowed to be a Washington fan. Anyway, let's see. Darren Waller, all those who, this is a really heavy tight end episode. So Darren Waller, who missed the game against the Eagles, is also back at practice with the Raiders. So with the incidents, or the tragic incident with Henry Ruggs, Hunter Renfrow gets a bump. Braylon Edwards gets a bump. Your pass catchers, Darren Waller, having him back in the fold, that's even better. Because remember, Ruggs was sucking all of the touches away from Darren Waller. Now that Waller's back and Ruggs is no more, then it stands to reason that that'll happen again. Then you also have Kenyon Drake, who gets a little bump. Not so much with Josh Jacobs, because they've been using Drake in the pass catching role, kind of in the Kareem Hunt style. So let's see. This just breaking. Looks like my hopes of having Saquon back are looking fewer and fewer. Thankfully, I've got Devontae Booker, so we should be good. He was just literally, as I'm recording this, just came through on Sleeper. And if you don't have the Sleeper app, what are you doing? Go get the Sleeper app. You can get all of the news that you need and all the alerts as soon as they happen from Sleeper. Saquon was placed on the COVID reserve list. All that means is he gets to go on my IR now. I got a spot opened up. Yay. So anyway, Taysom Hill is back practicing. He is cleared concussion protocol. Julio Jones was also present at practice. It doesn't mean a whole lot because he's got this hamstring that just keeps popping up. So I personally don't have any shares of Julio Jones. Thank goodness, thank the Lord. I'm extremely thankful that I don't have Julio Jones this year. I went through that last year. I don't want to go through it again. It was a horrible ride, a horrible experience. If you can avoid it, do so. If there's any way that you have any interest from anyone in your league on Julio Jones, please take that trade. Cole Beasley was sidelined with a rib injury. Now, he's had issues before. So Cole Beasley, if he's out or limited for game time, Manuel Sanders pops back into the picture. Dawson Knox was still not practicing Wednesday, but as I said, Wednesday's not really a good day to look at practice injury reports. Friday, when the practice report comes out for the end of the week, then you get concerned, okay? Debo did not practice or did not participate on Wednesday, but he is expected to play. Again, another Wednesday report that I'm really not putting a whole lot on. Elijah Mitchell, the same thing. PJ Walker is taking all of the first team reps in advance of the game against New England. I really don't want to be PJ Walker going up against a Bill Belichick defense. I just don't. So here's the thing. If you have the Patriots defense, congratulations, start them this week. If they're still somehow on your waiver wire, go get them right now. Pause this. Go get them. I'll wait. Okay, good. Shouldn't have taken you that long. Okay. Anyway, but yes, definitely have New England's defense, and please start them because they're not going to have Christian McCaffrey. They're not going to have Sam Darnold. I know Sam Darnold really didn't scare a whole lot of people, but better than PJ Walker. Just saying, he's a backup for a reason. Tua Tagovailoa was limited in practice, dealing with ribs and a finger injury. Keep an eye on this because if Tua is good to go on Friday, then I'm very much interested in that. Let's see. Matt Stafford is dealing with his back injury. We know this. This has already happened. McVay says he'll play. And look, Wednesday is when they give veterans the day off, and they're like, hey, rest up. We're good to go. Nathan Peterman got signed to the practice squad for the Raiders. Not really anything of consequence there. Corey Davis is listed as doubtful. Now, why is this important? This is important because you got Mike Wright out there balling out, just being the QB1 on the week, along with Michael Carter. So Michael Carter, if you went out and got him, if you haven't gone and got Michael Carter and you have a roster spot available, go get him, because all Wright does is check down. That's it. And without Corey Davis, you really didn't have a whole lot of other people to throw to. Let's see. Apparently, Montez Sweat, and nobody has Washington's defense. He suffered a fracture in his jaw. Really sucks. So he could miss about a month. Let's see what else we got. That's about it, guys. So that is all your news. We're going to take a quick look at my league of record, and we're going to go over a couple of things for trade. Because here's the thing, is that if you're in the same boat as I am, and the same boat a lot of people are, at this time of year, your roster, your waiver wire list kind of looks like this. It's not really pretty to look at. Go to running backs, not really pretty to look at. Wide receivers, not really pretty to look at. Tight ends, even worse. Defense. Ooh, New England's defense is still out there. Get out of here. Now, I personally cannot pick them up simply because I got the Rams. I'm happy with the Rams. But there might be a couple of people out there. Miami against Houston is a really, really good pickup. Chargers, Let's see. We got the Raiders against the Giants. That could be interesting. Outside of that, there's literally no one that I want on this list. So you're looking at New England, Miami, and possibly Vegas. Here's the thing, is that Danny Dimes, if it seems like he has an up game, a down game, an up game, a down. He had a down game. Look for him to have a really big game against the Raiders, and this could be a shootout. Because God knows that the Giants defense is horrible. So, okay, so over here we've had a lot of activity in my league. Daniel Jones got dropped, obvious reasons. Michael Thomas got dropped, obvious reasons. Jeremy McNichols, and this is interesting because Jeremy McNichols was out there for a while, and I advocated a couple of weeks ago for you to pick up Jeremy McNichols on Sunday prior to game time or Monday afternoon prior to a Monday night game and keep him on your roster just in case anything happened to Derrick Henry. Now, Derrick Henry's been unbelievably healthy for the amount of work that he's gotten. So a lot of people didn't take my advice. Probably wish you did know, especially if you're the Derrick Henry owner. My son Jay is the Derrick Henry owner. He hasn't dropped them yet. But Chuck Master, it's my boy Charles, went out and picked up Jeremy McNichols. Now, here's the only thing. They went out and got the old man. Yes, Adrian Peterson got signed to the Tennessee Titans practice squad, which means that probably Friday he'll be promoted to the 53-man roster. Why is this significant? Because the entire workload that Derrick Henry was working with is now going to be split. What does that mean? That means if you are A.J. Brown owner, if you are, I don't know, Julio Jones, and he actually comes back and is productive, you could look at a little bit of productivity from Julio, but definitely leaning on A.J. Brown, even more if that is possible. Okay. See my boy D Money up here. He went out and got Pittsburgh's defense. I added Michael Carter, dropped Ricky Seals. I'm hoping that Dawson Knox is back. If not, I do have a backup plan. No, I'm not saying what it is because I don't know who's watching. But I do have a backup plan. I actually have a trade in place for that. Pat Freiermuth, picked up by my boy D Money, and Freiermuth, he's been consistent, if nothing else. Let's take a look at him real quick. And we see the snap count. He went 50, 59, 36, 53, 49. No Ebron. There's nobody there to suck up any touches for him. And with the way that Big Ben's arm is right now, look, noodle arm ain't even the word, okay? I don't know what's worse than a wet noodle, but whatever it is, that's what he has. So, Freiermuth, definitely a good pickup if you're in the market for that. I would also look at Dan Arnold with Jacksonville. And if by some miracle Zach Ertz is available, Zach Ertz as well. Okay. We see Zach Ertz actually up here on the trade block in this one. And with Seattle being on a bye, of course, they got dumped. Ruggs got dumped. Robinson is on the trade block as well. Now, here's what I want you guys to remember. Is that when you are looking for a trade partner, always start at the bottom of your league. Okay. Look at the guy who's hurting the most. What does he need? What do you have? What do you want? Okay, because let's just say, for instance, well, take my boy D Money. Okay. He's got Joe Mixon. He's got Josh Jacobs. Past that, he doesn't really have a whole lot. Matter of fact, let me pull this up right here. Yeah, he went out and picked up Carson Wentz. And let's see here. Let's do this. Okay, here we go. So this is my boy D Money on the left. That's Big Dan 337. Joe Mixon, Josh Jacobs. That's about where my personal interest stops, only because I am desperate for running back help. Okay. Hollywood Brown. I'm good. Jacoby Myers. I'm still good. Kendrick Bourne is actually probably the receiver that I would want over him. Brandon Cooks is interesting. Deebo Samuel, there's no way that number one, there's no way I would let Daniel let him go. And number two, he's not going to let him go. He's averaging 117 points or 117 points. I wish. He's averaging 117 yards a game. So he's definitely not letting him go. Now you see an empty spot there. My boy's working a double, so he'll put in his defense when he gets them. Matt Ryan dealing with a non-throwing hand injury. If you didn't see it, it's gruesome. If you have a weak stomach, don't go look. Alex Collins is on a bye. Kenyon Drake, he's already got Jacobs in. Godwin on a bye. Kadarius Toney should probably be in his lineup, and Noah Fant is on COVID protocol. My boy hasn't won a game yet. Now, here's the thing. That doesn't mean he has got a bad team. The way it's worked out is that every single person that's played Daniel, they've done really, really good. This week, he could have beat 4 other teams. I think 2 of those teams actually won. So it's just who he played. They just had really good weeks. That's it. He's actually scored the 4th most points in the league. And I went over this before with him. But he's been outscored the most in the entire league. And it's not even like a small gap. It's a 100-point gap between him and number 2. Okay. So when I look at his team, what I look at is, who do I want? Who does he need? And what am I willing to give up? Okay. I'm not trying to hurt my team and make his team better. I'm not trying to mess his team up and make my team worse, or make my team better at his expense. Here's the thing, is that if you make a bad trade, okay, and when I say a bad trade, I'm talking about you just take advantage of someone who doesn't know any better, okay? If you do that, you will get a reputation in your league and no one will ever trade with you again, okay? You have to be able to find that balance. What I do is I text my trade partner prior to sending them a request. If you're in a league where you don't have that personal connection with the guys that you're playing with, it was like online, make sure that what you're offering makes sense. I'm not going to send a trade request to another owner unless I'm certain that that's a fair offer. Now, if it's not fair in their mind, I can't do anything about that. But I have to make sure that for my peace of mind, that it's doable for me. Okay. Here recently, I tried to get AJ Brown or Jamar Chase and Mark Andrews, only because Mark Andrews was on the block. I don't need a tight end. I'm perfectly happy streaming one, and I don't want to give up what the person was asking for. So I came up with my own thing. I did a 3 for 2. I'm trying to clear some roster space for my IR guys to come back on the roster. But it was Damon Harris, Mike Williams, and Javonte Williams for AJ Brown or Jamar Chase and Mark Andrews. In my mind, it's a fair trade. I'm taking and the guy that I was dealing with was loaded at wide receiver. He had Jamar Chase and AJ Brown. So he could stand to lose somebody. And I'm giving him Mike Williams. Williams has been down recently, but he's on a really prolific offense, really good upside, very high floor, with an unlimited ceiling. It's just crazy. So the trade quality was there. I really didn't want to give up Harris. Kind of glad I didn't. And I really, really didn't want to give up Javonte Williams because I got him in another trade. But if you can ever flip a trade into something better, that's awesome. So I hope this has helped you guys maybe talk through some stuff. I love doing this because it helps me talk through things. When I say things out loud, it either sounds really stupid or it sounds really smart. I very rarely have an in-between one. So 9 times out of 10, you're going to get one or the other out of me. I hope that hearing me work things out will help you work things out. And remember, if you need some help, whether it be football or otherwise, please hit me up on Twitter at Faith, the letter N, football 1. Okay. And just in case you're watching, I do have a subscriber I just found out this weekend from Germany that was on my live with me. I did my first live Sunday. It was about 11:15 Central Standard Time, right before kickoff, helping you guys out with your last minute start sets. Hope I helped you out. I love the interaction. I'm looking forward to doing some more later in the season when I'm able to. Wife works for the post office, so sometimes she's working on Sunday. Yes, they work on Sunday. They deliver nothing but Amazon. So anyway, and remember, be nice to your post people. Okay, your postal workers work really, really hard. They work really, really long hours. And they don't get the appreciation that they deserve. So remember, restaurant workers, postal workers, they really don't get the appreciation that they deserve. So please, when you're interacting with these people, please be kind, be understanding, be patient with them, because they're going through a lot as well. So, and all to make your life easier. So just remember that when you have interactions with people at the restaurant, whether it be fast food or sit down, doesn't matter. And your postal workers as well. Okay, guys. So that's it for Faith in Football. I will see you guys next time. I try to do Tuesday and Thursday. Sometimes I have technical difficulties or scheduling issues. So I'll apologize ahead of time. But make sure you down at the bottom, you click the little bell, you subscribe to the channel so you can get all of the notifications, and you guys can be here on Faith in Football with me, your host, Neil. Guys, I will see you next time. God bless. Keep each other safe, and we're praying for y'all. Take it easy, guys. See you next time on Faith in Football.